Let's go to Theology Thursday. Todd and Aaron, we have been studying this book, Kingdom Politics, Returning God to Government by Dr. Tony Evans. And we are in part 2 of the book where we're kind of now getting into the essentials that are the priorities for Christians getting involved in political and cultural engagement, right? The first part of the book kind of set the stage for why Christians should be politically and culturally engaged. And then the second part of the book that we're in now talks about what those priorities ought to be, those fundamentals ought to be if you are engaged. And this chapter is titled The Importance of Church. I want to, before we even get into the chapter, and I find out what you guys want to discuss out of this chapter, I want to just discuss the title of the book, or this chapter, The Importance of Church. This morning, I saw this tweet that I responded to here in my feed. Let me find it really quick. And it was from Dr. Frank Turek, who we just had on our show, okay, who is a biblical apologetics speaker, author, hosts his own podcast, okay, and we just had him on our show. And he asked the question, what can churches do to appeal to men and avoid hyperfeminization? I tweeted this back to him because I think it absolutely coincides with what we're going to discuss here in this segment. I tweeted back to him, it is a feedback loop. Most pastors don't want to be confrontational to either the congregation or the culture, so they feminize or soften their approach, which drives the men away because it's empty platitudes without application that are not worth their time. Or it softens the men so that they are conditioned that there is no application to their faith. It just remains a place of philosophical nurturing and encouragement. But nothing has to actually be done. No marching orders are given. Which, now that either the men have been driven away or they've been softened to inaction, gives the go-ahead for the pastor to continue being the girly man from the pulpit that he is. And it's the feedback loop. He gives biblical estrogen to the audience. Now, by the way, is estrogen a good thing?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a guy, I'm kind of fond of estrogen myself, if you get where I'm picking up money. I kind of like it myself, okay? So, who created estrogen, by the way? God. So is estrogen bad? No. And again, as a man, I'm a little fond of it myself, okay? But something you want to ingest a lot of if you're a man? No. Why? Because you're a man. And testosterone is more our thing, right?
Water's good, but do you fill your car's gas tank with water?
Exactly. Yeah. We are wired differently because we are created for different primary purposes. All right? But this creates the environment that the girly man pastor is hoping for. He has successfully spayed and neutered the men, or driven away the ones that would not be spayed and neutered. So no demands are being made of him. No one is saying to him after the sermon, brother, you got to up your game. That ain't going to cut it. I mean, I was at my school board meeting last week. They're trying to castrate my kid and feed him gay porn, and you're out here talking about, 5 steps to looking nicer, okay, in front of demons. That ain't going to cut it, brother. That doesn't happen. Like, a lot of churches don't even have, like, men's groups nowadays. Why? But they'll have it's always a danger if a church has a women's group and not a men's group. Why? Because, again, women are built differently. Women have an innate desire for encouragement from other women, and it helps them to keep going to perform their roles as women. That's to be heard, to be affirmed, to be nurtured. There's nothing wrong with those things. They're made that way. Men have an innate desire and need to be held accountable by other men. Why? Because when we are held accountable, then that is what gives us the energy to keep going. See what I'm saying here? Mm-hmm. All right? And so what will happen is, if you have a men's ministry at your church, the first weekend or two, you have your pancake breakfast or pizza night. First week or two, the guys will come in, get really emotional, confess how much porn they watched last week or how many times they watched the chick in the yoga pants at the gym and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that's not important, okay? But they'll do that like once or twice. But then by the time we get to like the third meeting, if there aren't any marching orders, what are most men going to do? Tap out. I'm busy. I got stuff to do. I own a company. I got a job. I got a family. My kids got sporting events. You know, my wife needs me home so she can go out with her friends. A million other things. I don't need to just over and over and over again be told it's going to be okay. All right, I needed that once. Now I need a cause. Now I need direction. All right, man. I've exiled my baggage. I've jettisoned my baggage. A real man is then going to think, I now feel free to go do something with this. Because that baggage was baggage. It was holding you down, right? You've jettisoned it, and so now you're like, I'm freed up now. So what are we going to do here? What's up? We're doing what? You know, what are we doing? Well, we're just going to keep meeting. And we're going to do what? We're going to keep meeting. To do what? Keep meeting. Well, I've already got a meeting at church once a week. It's called church. Okay? So if we're going to do this another night a week, and I've got responsibilities, what are we doing here? And a lot of American church culture does not want the men mobilized. Because if the men are mobilized, they will go to the pastors and elders and say, what you like to say all the time, Todd, what are you prepared to do? Mm-hmm. What's going on here? This ain't good enough. This ain't cutting it. You know what I'm saying? This has no chance against what we're up against, man. What are we doing here? They don't want that. I want my pleated khakis and my sweater vests. So we're going to feminize things, dull the senses of the men, so that the thought when they leave church, there is no immediate marching order. There's just a, I got encouraged. Yeah, I got encouraged. It's a Xanax, biblical Xanax. I got theologically encouraged. I got patted on the back. Everything's going to be okay. Dude, of course it's okay. You have 3 cars. You live in a $300,000 house. You don't go to church at a church, but a friggin' campus. What are you talking about? Your hard life now, Annie. Okay? Kick that to the curb, dude. It was always okay. It was okay before you walked in. It'll be okay after you walked out. You're living a life 99.99% of Homo sapiens on this planet can't even envision. It ain't hard. Get out of here. But that's how we're conditioned. Oh, man, boss was mean. Be thankful you got a boss. Oh, man, economy's tough. I know. You might have to go down to a 2-stall garage in your next home purchase. Most of the world would be happy to live in your garage. But see, we're not conditioned to think like this. And so I don't often affirmatively quote George W. Bush, but when I do, it is this quote. It is the soft bigotry of low expectations. That this is so hard. And therefore, to ask us to do any more would just be too difficult. So don't. And that is the conditioning that occurs in most of American church culture. And it's not an accident. It is on purpose. Because if I get the men wired and the men are fired up, the men aren't going to say, I just need to talk to my buddy again and get that encouraging word. No! Because your buddy's going to say, dude, we just did this last night. So why didn't you do what I told you to do last night? I don't know. Well, then stop freaking calling me. You're wasting my time. That's what we're going to say to each other, right? Because women need nurturing from other women and encouragement. Men need accountability from other men. Totally different creatures, because I know we don't say this too much anymore, but men and women are different. But if we treat the men that way, the men will make demands of the ministry. The men will make demands of the churches. They will say, well, why aren't you raising your game? What are we doing here? And American church culture does not want that. Thoughts?